Hey there, this is Kellis Landrum from True North Social, and we are continuing our video series on e-commerce website design. Today we are going to talk a little bit about the header and the footer of e-commerce websites. So let's start with looking at the header here. What exactly do we mean when we're talking about the header? So the header is usually a part of the website at the top of the page that is fixed, and it's used for navigation. In this case, I'm referring to this bar across the top that says free shipping on orders over $70. And the second bar beneath it that has the navigation on the left. It's got the logo on the right, and it's got the cart and some other controls to the right of the logo. This is the header. You're going to see a header on every e-commerce website that you ever go to. This is a very standard format, and it allows people to understand how to navigate around an e-commerce website. And in fact, almost every contemporary website has a header in it. Where this store is Shopify template, Shopify has control set up for the header. So does every e-commerce system and basically every non-e-commerce system now. This is set up so Google can understand that this is what the header is. Almost every website these days will have a header of some sort. Now, part of the reason I want to discuss this is there are different ways to style the header. There are different things that can be in your header, but regardless of what you're selling online, your site is going to have a header. And the header and the footer, in my professional opinion, are actually two of the most difficult things on any website to design, and there's a ton of branding involved in them. There's actually not a lot to a header and a footer, which is probably what makes them tricky to design. But there's a few things that they usually consist of, and among those things that they consist of, there's quite a few different ways to set them up. So as I mentioned, this is the header, right? It's this stuff. As I scroll down to the bottom of the page, this is the footer. The footer also is at the end of every page. It's on just about every website you're going to see right now. And both the header and the footer are going to have the same content across every page of your website, right? The format of them might change a little bit, but the content of them will not. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Okay, let's look at this particular theme as an example. This header sits on top of a picture, right? So the header right here is clear, and it shows a picture beneath it, right? This is, I mentioned this as a relevant thing because not every website has a picture sitting underneath the header here. And this picture has to be dark enough that this type can be read in white, right? Now, one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to click to a product page, and you'll see that the color of the header here has changed. Previously, this header bar was clear and the type was white when it was sitting on top of the photo. Now it's changed to a white background with black type. But the content that is in the header is still all exactly the same, right? It has the same 4 links in the exact same place. It has the logo in the same place, and it has the other additional controls in the same place, right? The content that is in this header bar has not changed, but the styling of it has, right? You'll see this happen in different ways across different websites. You'll notice as I scroll down this page, the header bar, the header with the free shipping offer disappears, but this does not. This is a very conscious decision, right? And you can, if you're working with an out-of-the-box template, you're stuck with whatever the out-of-the-box template offers you. But if you're doing a custom theme, if you're working with a development partner like True North Social, that can help you design and develop your own e-commerce theme. You can do whatever you want with it, right? You can think about what is the appropriate thing to do with my site for my particular products and make an informed decision about what you want to do with this. So this is an important distinction, right? Because if you don't want to work with your agency partner and say, hey, on some pages I want to include the cart, but on some pages I don't. Generally, you want to keep what is in the header the same everywhere, but the way you have it styled might change around a little bit. There's some websites where when you're at the top of the page, the header might be a little bit bigger, but then it shrinks as you scroll down the page. And in fact, this one kind of does if you count the fact that free shipping disappears, right? The vertical height of this changes as we scroll down the page. Also, as we get further down the page, the coloring of this changes. So the content of your header and your footer might change a little, or the content will not change, but the styling of it can, right? So that said, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about what is in a header, right? Some of the common things that are in a header are main navigation, right? What exactly the main navigation consists of might change around a little bit from store to store, right? Most e-commerce websites will include a collection, maybe called shop or catalog or something, but it will contain at least one default collection, assuming that you have more than one product, right? You need this to show people, oh, I have a bunch of different products, right? You may have subcategories along with this, and when you hover over these, it may reveal subcategorization of different categories of products you have, different models, different colors, different all sorts of different options you might have. But that is very common. In addition, if you want to have a blog, if you want to have pages like About Us or FAQ, Contact, anything like that, most e-commerce platforms will include the ability to create new pages and add them to your header. Generally, that's pretty easy. But if you're wondering, hey, can I include a page about legal stuff up here or about something that is non-standard? The answer generally is yes. Yes, you can. You can include anything you want in your header. The particular needs of it are up to you. You generally will include the logo. The general user experience that most e-commerce websites have is that when you click on the logo, you go back to the home page. There is no law saying you have to do this, but because most e-commerce websites do this, most users will expect this to happen, so it is a pretty good practice that I would generally recommend doing. As you look at this theme going over to the right here, this theme includes the ability to switch the way currency is displayed. I recommend getting rid of this. This is false advertising, in my opinion. Some themes will include this, some will not. But this does not change the currency of checkout. If you are in Canada, this will display your pricing in Canadian dollars, but it will not conduct your checkout process in Canadian dollars or euros or British pounds sterling. This is false advertising, in my opinion. If you are going to offer customers, and if you're going to have customers in different countries, you should work with a qualified partner to help you set up your website to do that. I would highly recommend removing this. That's all I'm going to say about this. Your account is an important part of your e-commerce website. If somebody has bought from you before and they want to go view their information, their account information, they can click on this. They can log in. Generally, they can see what they've bought. They can see when they bought it. They can, if they want to they've had an account with your store for a long time and they want to change their email address because they used to use Hotmail and now they use Gmail. They would log in to do this. You need that. Search is generally useful if you have a fairly large number of products. If somebody knows what they want and they want to go straight to it, it's pretty useful for that. If you only have a dozen products in your store, search is maybe not as useful because there just aren't that many products to search, right? Cart is an essential function of your online store. Every e-commerce website needs to have a cart. I would generally recommend keeping it in the header. In the right-hand corner is a good option, but again, there is no law saying that you have to have it there, right? You can include lots of different things in your header. You can include extra header bars. You can include extra messaging saying free shipping over a certain amount. You can say discounts with $15 off with this discount code. You can say entire store is 20% off through Labor Day. These are very kind of standard messages to include in your header bar. They could be in a bar, they might not be in a bar. That it is dependent entirely on styling, right? But these are some of the things to consider whether or not to put in your header from a content perspective. When we at True North Social, we do a lot of custom theme design, and the first thing we start with is wireframing, where we define what content is included in a specific piece of website that we want to design. So in the header, we'll talk to our clients and say, are you going to offer free shipping on your store? If they say yes, we say, do you want to include a message like that in the header? Some websites will include more messaging in the top, some won't. Some will put this stuff way up at the top here. But the first thing we talk about is what is the content that is going to be included in your header. So that is generally the place I recommend starting. Same thing is true for the footer of the site. When you think about the footer, you want to think about what content do I want to include in here? Do you want to include some information about your shop? If you have a physical location, do you want to include a map or your street address in here? Do you want to include your social channels, right? These could go in the header or the footer or both. There's a set of links here. One of the things we generally recommend is you include some information about return policies, because anybody who buys from you is probably going to want to know if I need to return this product or exchange this product, how does that work, right? You can include whatever information you want in here. Sign up for a newsletter is pretty standard. A lot of out-of-the-box templates include these payment methods. I'm not sure why you want to or need to promote Visa and American Express on your website. You can if you want to. I generally remove these things. So think about content first when you're working with the header and footer. Why do I say that? Well, because once you get past the content that you want to include in your header and your footer, the next thing you're going to think about is styling, right? And there are a ton of different ways to do styling for your header and footer. I'm going to show you a few examples that I've picked out here. Let's look at this one first. This one has 2 bars. It has one bar at the top in black with a free shipping message, has another bar below it with our menu, our logo, and some additional controls beneath, right? This has a clear background and on white, and it has a picture sitting below it, right? Let's click over to this next example. Native. These are all, by the way, these are all Shopify themes that you can Google Shopify themes and find these on Shopify's theme directory. Just using these as examples. Okay, so this has a picture sitting under the header, right? This does not have a clearly defined header bar, right? But it is still the header nonetheless, even though the homepage banner is sitting underneath it, right? Just because it doesn't necessarily look like a header doesn't mean that it has stopped being the header. It very much is, right? One of the clear differences between this theme and a lot of other themes is that the menu is stuck in this little, what we refer to as a hamburger icon. It's very commonly referred to as that. When I click on this, it shows me menu options, right? These may be the exact same menu options that are shown over here in this theme: shop, blog, about, FAQ, right? This has shop, news, and demos, and search, right? They hide these by default. Hamburger icons are generally used in mobile versions of themes. Some desktop versions of websites will have menu options in a hamburger menu. But I wanted to show you this because even though this doesn't necessarily look like what we commonly think of as a header, it still is, right? So don't be fooled. Okay, let's talk about different setups for the header. This one only has a single bar, right? But when a lot of people think of a website design, what they really picture in their mind is the homepage, right? So this homepage has the header in a bar, and then it has a big photo beneath it. But the photo here touches the left and right edges of the browser, but it does not touch the top edge of the browser. There's maybe 100 pixels or so of room here for the header bar. So this is a bar design, right? This king here has a vertical header, right? This is still a header. Once again, don't be fooled because the styling is a little bit different. They have it fixed to the left, right? But it is still a header nonetheless. It still has their logo. It still has, this is an account icon, a search icon, and a cart icon. It's still got collections, which are expandable. This looks like it sort of combines the header and the footer into one piece that is constantly available on the left-hand side. So once again, don't be fooled. Right? Okay, so this header is quite a bit taller, right? It pushes the banner down below here. Login, join, and search are over on the left. We have some social icons in the header. These are sort of fixed to the top. Our cart is here. It's still, this one displays the amount of goods that you have added to the cart. It has the logo centered and the menu beneath it, right? Some of the other options have the logo on the left, or they have the menu on the left. They have these things set up a little bit differently. But this is still a header, nonetheless. The homepage banner below it doesn't touch the left or right edges. It doesn't touch the top. This header is quite a bit taller, right? But it is still a header nonetheless. This particular theme, I'm not sure if this free standard delivery over $50 is part of the header or not. How would we find something like that out? Good question. I'm glad you asked. Let's click around to a couple other pages. It stays there, right? That is a strong indication that this is part of the header. In fact, I'm going to make a judgment call and say that this is part of the header. This messaging is just below the navigation instead of stuck up to the top like this one, right? So these are all content elements that are contained within the header. They're just styled and arranged a little bit differently. So you're starting to get the idea. There's lots of different options, right? Oh, one thing. Why did I pick this theme? Because this theme is it's within a fixed page column, right? So as I grab the edge of this, all of this header stuff right in here, it all just centers, and the width of this does not change at all, right? With some of these other ones, you'll see they are fixed to a distance from the edge of the browser right here, right? There's probably 125, 150 pixels of padding in between the cart and the edge of the browser here. And when I drag it back and forth, the space between here changes, it compacts, but the space on the edge of the browser doesn't. So the elements can be fixed to the edge of the browser or not, right? Some of these other ones, they're fixed to the left edge of the browser. But the edge of this can expand and contract. These, let's see, these elements are fixed to the edge of the browser. These ones have a variable padding on either side, so they can expand and contract. So these are some things to think about with the styling of your header. The footer can or cannot work in a very similar way. It looks like even though this is centered and the padding here changes a little bit when I drag these back and forth, the padding in between footer elements is generally the same all the way across the board. So one does not have to dictate the other. All of this stuff is just stuck to the center. Well, whereas this, it looks like the logo is centered and the elements are stuck to the sides. Okay, I think that's enough of that. You probably get the picture by now. Let's see. Okay. So let's talk about, we've talked a little bit about header. Let's talk a little bit about footer. Right? So again, these can contain any elements you want. Let's compare a few of these to see what different sites include in their footer, or I shouldn't say lack thereof, but let's just take a look. Okay, so this one has some text about the store. Generally, you'll have some links, a link to your newsletter. Some sites are a little bit more minimal. You might not have a lot of information in your footer. In fact, a lot of sites very commonly don't. Your footer could just be a couple of links like this. Once again, I would recommend you put return policy in your footer. I would recommend the minimum content that you put in your footer is a link to a page with return policy information, a link to your contact page, because people may want to email you if they have a question or want to do a return. Those are the links I would include. I would include links to your social channels because those are always valuable. And I would also recommend you have a link to your, or a box for your email sign up, just like this, right? Encourage people to sign up for your email list because marketing to them later will be very useful. This is a very, very minimal footer, but don't be fooled, that is a footer. Let's see. So yeah, that's pretty common elements for a footer. Now, so header and footer, those are kind of the basics. Let's talk about the difference between a mobile header and footer and a desktop header and footer. So this is what my footer looks like on the desktop version. I have a little tool here in Chrome that will give me a pretty good approximation of what this site looks like on mobile, right? So in fact, let's do this. Let's do a side-by-side comparison of the desktop and the mobile version of this theme. So let's see here. So on my right, I have mobile. On the left, I have the desktop version. So let's see, what can we see or not see as we transition? Generally, the mobile version of a header is going to be very compact. These are very standard elements that you'll see on the mobile version of a header. You'll have a hamburger icon, which you can tap to expand. This is different. Keep in mind that on a desktop website, you have hover because you're working with the mouse. With a mobile website, A mobile phone does not have a hover because there is no mouse, right? You can only tap. If you were using hover for an interaction, you have to find another way to deal with things on the mobile version because you have no hover state, right? So we have a hamburger icon on the left. We have the logo. This one's over to the left. Most of these are centered. I like them centered. And then we have the cart on the right. This is a very common setup, I think, for a mobile version of a header. When I click on this, there is an expanded state. Keep in mind, this is only one way to style this, right? This shifts the main part of the website to the left and reveals the navigation. It is the same navigational content that is over here. There's just a different way to interact with it. On my desktop version, I hover for shop. On the mobile version of my site, I need to tap this arrow to reveal more options that are within. On the desktop version of my site, it looks like there's a picture here. On the mobile version, there is not. On the desktop version, you may display links. This particular theme makes you click to another list of links. Again, if you're working with an agency, you can design this any way you like, right? But if you're working with an out-of-the-box theme or template, you are kind of stuck with whatever that template has until you work with a partner to design something custom for your e-commerce site. So this is pretty typical of the way these things work. I think the most common methods are they slide out to one side, or they will expand the list of menu navigation options downward. Those are both very common. Let's take a look at the footer. So the footer has, so it has all the same elements. It has the sign up for the newsletter. It has the social elements. It has the logo. It has all the links. It has the content. One thing additionally to note about templates is most of these are not, I'm going to say they're not styled very nicely. It's because templates are made for a very wide variety of e-commerce website needs, right? This could be used as a store that sells clothing or ketchup or juice bottles or car parts, whatever you want to sell, right? So, the way this is designed is generally, in my opinion, not great. It just lists all of these things straight down. They could be side by side. They may not be optimally sized for touch, right? A lot of times when I look at these e-commerce website templates, the links are very small, so it's easy to accidentally tap on the wrong one if you have big fingers, like I do. We do a lot of work with the styling of these things to, I would say, create a much better user experience with this stuff. Another thing to note is generally the way websites are built are on the desktop. If you read these things left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they will stack in the same order. So email address, subscribe is 1. Social tools are 2. And then logo is 3. Messaging is 4. And there's link set 5, link set 6, link set 7, copyright 8, and payment logos 9, right? So this stacks everything in that order, right? Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's the same order. Now, for this particular theme, I think that works well because the subscribe module is the first one. In our experience at True North Social, getting people to sign up for your newsletter is pretty important, right? Now let's look at another theme and how it responds a little bit differently. This theme, the Handy Light theme, has the email sign. Okay, it has the email sign up first. Some of these have it last, which I don't think is a best practice, or just not first, right? This has this list of links 1, and this has the email sign up number 2. So when we look at the footer here, now this has a list of links 1 and subscribe 2. If you had a lot of links or more than one list, it would push this progressively further down towards the end of the page where people might not notice it, right? This one doesn't have an email sign up at all, right? This one has it way over on the end. Let's take a look at what this looks like on mobile. Okay, so this is where the footer starts with About Shop. Then it has my social links, and then all my links, and then way down here towards the bottom, it's got sign up. Almost at the very end, right? I would recommend putting this towards the beginning. Again, if you're working with us to create a custom theme for your e-commerce website, we can do tricky stuff. Like we can have it display. We can have the content all be the same from the desktop version to the mobile version, but we could create some tricks through CSS that would show this on the left, so down towards the end of the list on desktop, and then when you go over to the mobile version, we can reorder them. But this is a custom thing. That would be theme customization for sure to do that. I'm not aware of any out-of-the-box templates that allow you to do that sort of thing. So I hope this is a good overview, a good breakdown of header and footer. Once again, I go into a lot of detail about this because they are the most challenging parts of most online stores to design. I say this because most people look at an online store design as the homepage banner and the photography, but assuming you have a good photographer shooting great photography of your products, that is not an issue, right? You can hire a good photographer and solve that problem completely. It will not solve problems with your header and footer, and if your header and footer are difficult to use, or they don't look good, they are on every single page of your website. So great photography will help your homepage, but it will not help the header and footer on your collection pages. It will not help the header and footer on your about page, on any piece of your carts. Your header and footer are so universal, right? They go across every page. They're going to be on the About page. They're going to be on the FAQs, right? So they really are a huge workhorse piece of branding for your site. Small sites don't have a lot of pages, but bigger, more established websites do. And the longer your website is around, the more products you have on it, the more and more important it becomes to make sure that your header and footer are really well designed, really well constructed, and they can be a really vital piece of an e-commerce website in getting people to buy something correctly. So once again, I hope this helps. This is Kellis at True North Social, and good luck.